Alrighty, hello everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the GameDay Squad Women's Aussie Rules Show. I'm here and joined by a good friend and co-host in Bales DT. Bales, mate, are you ready to chop up the round that is about to be? Of course, a couple games have already started, so we're going to be doing this one a little different, but nonetheless, we've got a great weekend of fantasy footy ahead.
Yeah, mate. Let's get straight into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know why you want to get straight into it.
Why is that?
We're going to flick over here. It's because we're going to have a look at some of the best from last round. So here we have our leaderboards for the starter and classic competitions. And if you don't know, Bales Nails has not only come third in starter, he's come second in the classic competition, just having a dominant round. Hence why he wanted to get straight into this.
Yeah, nailed it, mate.
Yeah, mate, what a round it was. You just were on fire. Of course, I did pretty good in the classic myself, but wasn't good enough to knock you off. And you've backed it up not only with one fantastic performance, you've gone the double. So what's your secret, Bales? You've got to tell everyone, mate.
Oh, mate, no, it's just a good round. And packing a gold Marin off also from my rewards the previous week obviously does go a long way. I guess the one obviously negative from last week was playing the Silver Sabrina Frederick, because if I didn't and I had just gone for an Alice Edmonds who I'd played in my team every week, or even just a different ruckman, I would have actually finished top for the round, which would have been really, really nice. But hey, I'll take second, and I think I'm in the top 10 now as well for season ranking. I think it might be just outside top 5, so pushing for that prize card, and
Yeah,
all-star card for top 10. I'd still, if I came top 10, I'd be pretty happy with that. So yeah, hopefully we can keep kicking on.
That's the thing. Like, I guess the big thing you want to be able to finish in some of the weekly competitions to get some upgrades, and then of course the seasonal one as well to score some more. But here we have our challenger and champion competition coaches here. Just a fantastic round. You can see some of the scores there. We've just had some coaches go absolutely nuts with picking the best squads. So shout out to Skippers, first in Challenger, and Tony's Legends, first in the Champion there as well. So great performances all around. You can see Fez there with the double 5.
I was going to say, what's happening there, Fez? What's going on? He's normally top every week. So what's happening with he's slacking off last week, I reckon.
Yeah, Cal's got a question for us here. Kickoff question for Bales: Prime Noff or Prime Rory Laird? Go on, Bales.
Oh, geez, that's
that's
a tough one. That's like trying to. I don't even know. I would want to say both, but.
Got a big one. Come on.
You know what? Because we're doing an AFLW show, I'm going to say Prime Noffy. I'll say Prime Noffy because if I'm going to pack a really, really good card from anyone, I'd be a lot more happier, I guess, packing a Marin off just because of how much more valuable she is in the women's game. So I'll say Noffy.
Yeah, for sure. All righty. Well, let's talk about your round so far. So everyone, let us know in GameDay Squad and Fantasy, who have you started so far? Because, of course, there's the double games this week. We have 4 teams that are going to be playing double. Bales, without giving too much away, how many players have you capitalized on this and loaded up on players over both of these games, or have you still played it smart and tried to play it off a matchup to matchup basis?
Yeah, so well, I've still just gone to pick the best squad in all of my teams. The one thing that so it's good in terms of my classic side started well, which is, I guess, classic and starter for me at the moment are the 2 ones I'm taking most seriously, just because they're the ones that sort of I've started well in. So I had in classic, I had Charlie Thomas bronze, Courtney Hodder silver. They both went pretty well, like especially Courtney Hodder had a good sort of last quarter, especially moving into that midfield. And then I also had Ali Anderson bronze there, who was also good. And I thought tossed up between her and Hatchard this week. And I thought I'd go Ali Anderson because you get the double crack, right? You get the 2 chances to get a good score. So I thought I'd go Ali Anderson. And for people that at home listening, it's not, you don't get double points. It's you get the best score out of the 2 games. So with that, and then I've got Silver Sabrina Frederick on the bench as well. So not too bad. But when you move to my challenger, I spoke to you about this on the phone. I went for a bit of a pod on my bench, a gold Brianna Davey, and she got concussed early in the second quarter. So yeah, that was tough because not only do I not get the score from the first game, or a bad score from the first game, she now won't play the second game. So that's the risk you got to take is if you play a bit of a pod and something happens in the first game, they don't play the second game. it is what it is. So
Yeah, exactly right, mate. And how about Dakota Davidson as well? Like,
yeah, she gastro.
is she going to come play the next game, or have now people essentially locked themselves into a null score in their forward lines?
She'll play the second game though, I would imagine. But she had gastro. The thing that was a bit interesting was that Harris Andrews was sitting next to her when they were watching the game last night, and I thought, geez, you got gastro, Harris, mate. You've got a prelim final on Saturday night, or Saturday afternoon. I don't know if I'd be sitting next to someone that's got gastro, to be honest. But
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, spot on there. For me, though, I actually didn't play too many players here. I only played two. Charlotte Thomas, in my defense, because she's just amazing. And of course, I actually went with Ali Anderson as well over Hatchard. I know both of us gave Hatchard the nod last week in our midfields. And this round, I thought, like yourself, you got two chances to score really big. So I'm going to take the double chance for such an elite player in the mids rather than just the one. And, you just never know what's going to happen there anyway. But we're in some uncharted territory, irrespective. We actually don't know how this is all going to play out. And I feel like we're going to get a better sense for it sort of after this week or after this round and moving on for the rest of the season. So if you are watching along, let us know your strategy. What are you going to do? Are you going to load up on these games? Are you trying to stay away from them because there's a double? Maybe they're going to get rested at the end of quarters if it's a big lead. Is it a danger zone? Who knows? But that's what we love about fantasy. We're going to find out.
What you're saying there, Ali Anderson for the whole last quarter played forward. She didn't attend a single centre bounce, and then for the last probably 5-6 minutes or so, she was on the bench and didn't end up coming back on, which is what I thought might happen. Maybe the game on the weekend.
You speculated this. We were talking about this. You did say that.
I didn't think that there'd be as many full game rests. I thought it'd be resting forward on the bench, stuff like that. And I guess against the Bulldogs, they're up by over 5-6 goals. So I thought, well, let's just leave our star player on the bench. And that's just something to note. I will just flag that when we get to one of the games that we'll chat about this weekend, but that's something to notice. But I'll chat about that when we get to that game.
Yeah, absolutely. All righty, mate. Let's get into this round. We've been going for a little bit here. Game one, we are going Richmond versus the Carlton Blues, and we have thought exactly alike here with the exact same rarities as well. We've gone Bronze Sheeran, Bronze Brennan. You can see the matchup matrix data there. So it's based off the 3 rounds that we've already seen for these two clubs. And then, of course, the highest averaging players over these 3 games as well. So that's sort of a little sneak peek at some of the best players and some of the metrics you should be looking for. But Bales, I might let you get into why you and me are starting Sheeran and Katie Brennan this one.
Well, yeah. Well, Sheeran looked pretty good last week. I don't have an exact score, but I believe it was around 70 points, if I'm not mistaken. Tom, I don't know if you've got a score there. GameDay Squad
points. Can pull it up for you, mate. Of course.
I know she scored 66 fantasy points, but I'm not sure about in terms of GameDay Squad points. But yeah, she scored okay. She was rested for parts of the game, low game time. Carlton's a good matchup. I just expect her to go well. And Katie Brennan looked good last week. Kicked 3 goals in the first quarter. And I thought, here we go. We're on for an absolutely mammoth score here. Why not leave the gold in my side? But then she slowed down a little bit, but still got to a very good score. Like you're definitely taking. I think she got about 100 points last week, or if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, she was very, very good for a forward there. But the one player we don't have that I'm a bit nervous about is Mon Conti tonight. Carlton, good matchup. I know it's only a mid-range matchup in terms of there, but we know Carlton are a good matchup. They can give up big scores. Last week, not so much because Geelong were bad, but I feel like Conti, this could be a big game. So I'm nervous not having her in my midfield tonight.
Yeah, and let me just reinforce your Sheeran points there. 61% time on ground, 84 fantasy points in the last game. So had 14 kicks. She has really good kick to handball ratio. Traditionally, that hasn't been any different to start this season as well. So, presumably more time on ground, more fantasy points. Could she sort of creep up around that 100 mark eventually once she's fully healthy and, recovered from her injury?
I'd her as my number 1 defender preseason, so
I
expect her to keep going.
Absolutely. But I do agree with you, Mon Conti, a little bit scary to leave out, but I sort of tossed up between Hatchard, Conti, and Anderson, and I ended up going with Anderson, of course, because of the double game. Is that strategy going to pay off? Who knows? But for now, that's how we've gone, Bales. Let's get into game 2, though. This is a game where it's full full of the Kangas, especially for yourself. North Melbourne and Port are taking each other on, and we are very similar in terms of players, but then you've decided to add in an extra forward from North. So why don't we talk about the point of difference player first, mate? Get into Sheila. Got her in your squad for this week. If I'm not mistaken, the first time you'll be starting her. Talk me through that decision.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, a bit of a unique, obviously, this one. I just think that the Port matchup for North will be good. I think they'll capitalise on it. And I think, Sheila's looked pretty good first 2 weeks. She had a good score last week. Again, I don't have a score off the top of my head what she got
I'm
last
here for,
week.
mate. I've got you. You want to know?
Yeah, what she scored in the first 2 weeks, actually.
First 2 weeks, she went 70 points, 56, and then last week, 126 fantasy points with 5 goals.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't expect to kick 5 goals again, but I just think that she'll be one of the, obviously she's the spearhead of the North Melbourne forward line. I just think Port Adelaide will be a good matchup for her. So that's why I've got her in, and it's more because the other options in the forward line, to be honest, there's not really many other good ones. I've got we'll mention them all here, but I've got Anya Ty, I've got Katie Brennan, I've got Courtney Hodder, I've got Alice O'Loughlin, Chelsea Randall. But then outside of that, there's not many other options I've looked at. Like Gemma Houghton hasn't performed up to what I thought she would be doing this season.
Yep, 100%.
And there's just a few players that you wish had forward status that don't, unfortunately. So you're sort of looking at a few other options, and I thought Kate Sheila with a good matchup could be a nice unique for the week.
Yeah, I love the call, mate. And look, the numbers are backing it up. And irrespective of the goal kicking, she's got 12 kicks, 8 and 7 across. So getting her hands on the footy and definitely contributing. But after that, we go gold Riddell each. We go silver Ghana each. Ghana, in all honesty, has probably been a little disappointing. And I think it's a testament to how good she played in 2023. She had an average of 154 fantasy points. You can see there for the season so far, 129. It just looks like she's on cruise mode a little bit, and she's just ready to kick into another gear when it's going to be needed. My only concern is I don't think it's going to be needed in this match. So I was almost thinking about benching Ghana.
Yeah, I'm very glad you raised that point, because one thing I just want to flag is obviously last night we saw Ali Anderson resting forward and then on the bench for a bit. I'm a bit nervous for Riddell and Ghana that this could be the game that they do rest a little bit, because when you look at their next two next week, they've got Carlton, who have been playing quite well. They obviously beat Geelong last week. They're playing well. Then they've got Richmond, which is, again, that'll be a good game. So I don't think they're going to have I don't think they're going to have the ability to be able to. But then again, North can blow most teams out. There's probably one or two teams they might not be able to, but like they did to Brisbane in round one, which we thought Brisbane were going to be up there. But I'm nervous that Port being, I guess, quote unquote, their easier game. Obviously, not trying to disrespect Port. I'm just saying that in terms of the difference on the ladder, is that this could be the game where Ghana rests forward a bit more. Maybe Riddell plays in the 70s game time instead of in the mid 80s. So maybe their ceilings are knocked off this week. I don't know. Like that, this could be maybe they just play the whole game out, and maybe they do it against Carlton next week on I believe Wednesday night instead. So maybe it's next week they rest, but just a flag that they may rest a bit this week if they're up by a little bit. So just a flag. Yeah,
100%. And I think it's a really good point. And that's exactly why I was almost nervous to start Ghana and maybe go someone like Conti, or you go someone who you know that she's going to need to play. She's going to need to play the full game at that. And
if you're down the rankings, you need to make, if you're like in the 30s, 40s, 50s overall, and you're trying to crack in the top 20, top 15, top 10, maybe this is a week where you play one still. Maybe you try and hedge your bets a bit and sort of just go, okay, I'll keep one in there, and not maybe play both, and maybe you play a Conti instead, or something. Because midfield, right, there's a lot of good scorers. So like if you take out, like for example, Ghana and put in Hatchard, I don't really think you're going to be losing out by 60, 70 points, but you could gain 20, 30 points. So just
exactly
something to
think. Right. Yeah. High risk, high reward, of course. And you've got Kearney there in both of our squads. You can see she's having a career year, 96 fantasy average so far. And any other season, it would put her as the number one defender. Just we have so much talent this year. So just shy of that at the moment. And then Alice O'Loughlin as well, the forward that we all needed to come through. She's had a fantastic 2 games, 89 fantasy points, of course. Had the suspension in round 2. I think that'll wrap us up there for that game. Let's get into game 3. We have the Gold Coast Suns taking on the Geelong Cats. And a couple of players here for each of us. let's talk about Webster, because I know Webster at the start of the season wasn't in our squads. She is now back-to-back weeks featured in both of our squads, Bales. Why are you so high on Webster and she's locking down one of the defender spots for you?
Well, she scored really well last week, and it was typical Melbourne sort of day for all 4 seasons. In the one, it went sunshine, overcast, windy, then it was raining, then it started hailing for a bit, then sunny again. It's all the seasons in one, but she still scored well, so it didn't matter. And that was and then she was probably like the only player I thought for Geelong last week that really showed anything, because I think they just a bad game from everyone. So yeah, I think Beck Webster will be good once again this week. Gold Coast is obviously, as you can see on the screen, they're a pretty decent matchup for defenders. So yeah, I think Webster will be going well. But obviously, it's not on the screen there, but I did make a change sort of while we were getting prepared for the show. I have put Daisy Darcy in my team, so we've got the same 3 players in this game.
Oh, okay. Daisy Darcy is in, and I guess we'll find out later. We haven't seen the out yet.
No.
We'll find out later. Okay. We will find that out. But Webster, for me, as you just mentioned, like some of the stats, she actually had 2 CBA attendances last round. Not that it matters too much, but her kick averages are at 11.5 a game, and she's averaging 5 tackles as well. So she's just getting bulk opportunity to score, and she's been such a fantastic player to start this season, and definitely deserving of a spot in both of our squads. Darcy, she was probably just out of that echelon, out of the 7 of the best defenders in our preseason rankings, but it's now crept right into that conversation.
Yeah, I think she's in it. I think she's probably, if you're doing rankings now, you obviously in terms of average, I think obviously Lucas Rod there at number 1, and Emma Carney's 2. I'd probably then slide Sheeran, depending on how she sort of goes in this couple weeks, up there. But I've probably got Webster and Darcy as the 2 that are sort of fighting for that number sort of 4 and 5 spot, I think. I think Daisy Darcy's in the top 5.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And for good reason. She's had a killer season so far, and she's just continuing to punch out some really good scores, and it's been needed, I think a lot of people were looking at someone like Tani Evans, and she can't be so volatile, but Darcy just seems to be that little bit safer. She's going to get the kick-ins, and she's going to play on as well, and we love that about our defenders. And then Charlie Rowbottom is just
nothing
a
to
machine.
say. It's just
look at that average there. That should just speak for itself, and it should speak volumes. 158.
Yeah, again, one of those players that if you've got a silver, gold, even a platinum, I'd consider it. If you've got some salary to dump on someone, I'd be looking at Charlie Rowbottom as someone to be doing that with.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I reckon we covered this one pretty well. Couple pot options in McDonald, and of course, Georgie Chrispakis hasn't really had the season I think people would have thought that she was going to have, but you just never know.
Carrying a bit of an injury, so I'd probably just wait and see with her. I'd wait to see something big, and then maybe you can consider putting her in.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Let's get into game 4. St Kilda versus Hawthorn, and there's one common thing here. It's Tilly Lucas Rod, and the other is our point of difference. So why don't you go first? Why don't you talk about Tilly Lucas Rod? I know you were just talking about how she's probably your number 1 right now. So yeah, rip in, mate.
Yeah, I don't think there's really too much to add for Tilly Lucas Rod, to be honest. I think they're just killing it at the moment in defence there. Move back there this year instead of playing in the midfield and getting all the ball. So I think that they're just a lineup lock every week. So I'd be keeping them firmly in the defence, because I think that they're top 3 defender, 100% for the season. So, yep, lock.
You could say that. Yeah, 100%. And for me, Wardlaw.
I don't have a Wardlaw, and she probably would be in over Shearlaw, to be honest, if I had to pick between the 2. But yeah, I don't have a Wardlaw. So if anyone's out there's watching, let's hit me up for a Wardlaw. And yeah.
Fair enough. Well, I'll tell you why I really like Wardlaw. And honestly, if you look at her numbers, she started off the season 104, 64, 41. So I guess the numbers and the score would tell you that she's actually trending in the wrong direction, and maybe she's in a void. But she's doing plenty of good things for me to just put her in. And one of the big things is she's getting ruck contests, and she's getting hit outs because of it. Of course, when it goes forward, she's going to take that ruck role, and that she's going to, use her body. That's just an opportunity for a couple of extra fantasy points on top. So I've been really liking that. Her kick numbers are a little lower over the past 2 rounds in comparison to round 1. Of course, she went nuts in that round, but I just don't see that happening for too much longer. She's too talented. She's too good of a player. And I do think in a matchup like this with Hawthorn, she should be able to get her hands on the ball a little bit more. So I'm pretty optimistic about that. And look, if she can kick a goal or 2 as well, I think that'll just be the cherry on top, and that she'll definitely finish as a top 7 forward for the round. So a little bit nerve-wracking. As I just mentioned, the numbers are sort of indicating the opposite, maybe a void, but just her role, the opportunity I know she's going to get, she's definitely worth the start in my opinion, and going to keep her in so far. But someone like Sheila is definitely on my radar, so I know you've got her, but like, if she continues to trend this way, then maybe I might make the substitution. But for now, I'm going to hold strong. I'm going to trust my gut.
Yeah, no, always trust your gut, and you'll be rewarded, as the great Selby from Rare's Magic always says.
Yeah, that's it, mate. Alrighty. Well, anyone else you want to talk about in this matchup? I know, someone I missed in this matchup is Sheriff. Casey Sheriff was someone that I was just so high on after the first couple of rounds, and now she's out. Just all the numbers were indicating that she was about to have an all-star caliber season in the forward line, and it was a big, big loss for fantasy, especially.
Yeah, I think this is just one of those games that there's not many. There's just Turlius Rod that's locked in, and Wardlaw, who's a pretty good option in the forward line.
Yeah, I know. Bring back Sheriff. Hopefully, some good health, and can get back on
I think you mean bring back the Sheriff.
The Sheriff, exactly who I mean. Yeah. Let's get into Game 5, Bales. Let's talk about the Dockers and the Demons, and we're thinking the exact same here. Couple of different rarities, but I guess the principles, very similar.
Yeah. Well, I've obviously, with the change with Daisy Darcy coming in, so there's a silver defender that I took out for Daisy Darcy, and with the extra sort of tiny bit of salary, I end up popping it on top of Mimstrom. So I've got a gold Mimstrom in this game. I just think that
you've gone the gold.
Yeah, just with Melbourne's, I guess, all that, like rucks being injured and whatever, that, like, I think Mimstrom is going to be a game where she's just going to go absolutely ham. So she's won this week. If you've got a bit of extra salary, I think she could go quite well. She obviously had a great start to the year. 2 of the first 3 games have been absolute monster scores. I believe she would have hit 150 in both of those games in GameDay Squad, if I'm not mistaken. Definitely over 140, Tom, if you can pull that up. But I know she had a couple of big games, so I think that this could be another one where she goes quite well. So
is this Strom? Sorry,
Strom.
Yep, I can get that up for you.
Yeah, so I think this is just another good game for her. So that's why I've put the extra little bit of salary on top of her.
I guess Mimstrom for me has sort of been what I thought Morfitt was going to be, and what a season! Just not what we definitely anticipated. But in terms of scores, Bale, round 1, 139, 65, and then 144. Big bounce back last week in round 3. So, yeah, huge performances.
Not quite the 150, but very, very good. So, yeah, if you can get, then again, a gold, it's 170 or whatever it would be in terms of the equation. So, yeah, definitely happy to have her. And I think Anya Ty and Kate Hoare as well are just 2 of those forwards that we just lock in every week. Kate Hoare is probably the number 1 scoring forward, and Anya Ty is arguably probably number 2. So, I think that they're just lineup locks every week.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want to get you the numbers on those?
Yeah, yep.
They are 1 and 2. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Beautiful.
Core's number 1, Ty's number 2. So they're just having great seasons overall. And I just agree. I think Strom has just been a really nice surprise. Obviously, she had a fantastic year in 2023, but you can see the average there. I think she averaged 85 points last season. She's averaging 116 to get this campaign started. So she's just been dominant. Kate Hoare playing a little bit more time in the midfield, some great upside there. And then Anya Ty is just safe as chips almost. You just got to get her in your forward line because she's just too valuable to not have in there.
Safe as chips?
Cheap. Safe.
Interesting.
Safe
I normally know it's safe as houses. That's normally a thing. Safe as chips, though. Chips are pretty safe, though. Chips are pretty good. So,
is that a Sydney thing? Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, might be Sydney. I don't know. Actually, let us know in the comments. Is it safe as houses or safe as chips? I've only heard safe as houses. So let us know.
That's right. Let us know. What do you say? Anyway, maybe it's something different.
Safe as houses for me.
Game 5, Bales. Well, I think that actually wraps us up, right? I think we're good here.
Yeah.
Let's get a game 6. I know you'll be pumped about this. Golden Offie in there. Your Crows are taking on Essendon, mate. Why don't you get started? talk about some of the decisions you have made here. And let's go your point of difference player. Let's go Newman. She's had a really good campaign. She started off this season super strong. You've got her in the defense?
Yeah, I do. Yep. So
I was wondering if this was the sub. I was almost didn't want to say it, and you're like, "Oh, I've
yeah.
subbed her
Oh
out."
no,
But
yeah, no. She was in the team. It was between Daisy
okay.
Darcy and another defender. So yeah, Maddie Newman's just been great this year, and I know it says Essendon they're a bad matchup for defenders, but I feel like the Bombers, in terms of their first 3 games, I'm just going to put them up here though, but they've played. I'll get their matchups here instead of trying to say who they've played. So they've played. So round 1, they played Freo, and it was just at Windy Hill, so no one's really going to score too well. And Freo dominated the game, so there was no real need for the defenders.
Yep.
Round 2, the Bombers then played West Coast again. The ball was down their end, so West Coast defenders didn't really have to score too well. And then last week, they played St Kilda, very low-scoring fantasy game with just Steph Wales and even Serene Watson, Jean Anscombe, the only players going over 90. So,
Okay. Fair enough.
yeah. So I look at their defenders and go, I see they're the 13th hardest, but I don't actually think that they're. I don't think they're easy. I don't think they're like a top 3 or 4 matchup, but I think they're probably a bit more mid-tier than the Reds. So that's why I've got Maddie Newman there. I expect the Crows to have a lot of ball.
Exactly. We're at the point of the season where, there's been such a small sample size that some of these numbers aren't exactly going to indicate.
Yeah.
But I got some comments here, Bales. Everyone is with you. Safest houses or cheapest chips?
Yep. Savers houses and then it's cheapest chips. Yep. That's the one.
There we go. But yeah, look, the Crows have just been dominant, and I just want all in with any of the Crows players at the moment. I'm almost thinking about trying to go out and getting Newman, putting her into my squad. I know we had a chat before this. I just got a bronze Newman. It's my only Newman, and I'm thinking about taking out Darcy, but I just can't do it because, as I was saying, Darcy just hasn't done anything to not warrant starting in my squad. She's had such a good year. So, look, who knows? I might get inside of my own mind and make that late call. But for now, look, Newman's not in for me. But I've gone Wales. I think she's been a big surprise, in my opinion.
Talk to us about why you've gone Wales, because I think a lot of people would go, like Strom's there, Frederick's there. There's a few rucks, but obviously Steph Wales is good last week. Why have you chucked Steph Wales in as a bit of a pod?
Steph Wales has just been sneaky good all year. And I think, people are focusing on some of the top rucks. You go, as you mentioned, Frederick, Strom. I know Morford's fallen out of that conversation now. Edmonds. We're looking at these type of players. But if I just read out her fantasy points for the year, I think it might surprise you because she's just been really, really good. Round 1, 97. Round 2, 77. Round 3, 125.
The one flag I would say is that the Crows are the hardest matchup for rucks, obviously 18th on the scale there. And who have they played as well? That's probably my only question, is who they've played. So they played St Kilda last week for a big score. That's a good matchup because they brought in a first gamer in Fiedler and Renee Karras were the duo. Who was in round 1 and 2 for St Kilda?
West Coast and then
West Coast is a very good matchup, and then Freya obviously was the one harder matchup, and she went all right. So it'd be interesting. This is her first, probably her first real test. Like I know Strom is
second test. Strom's a good test.
Yeah, I'll say second test, but I guess probably just saying because the Crows, the team, and like come up against the hard opposition, then a hard ruckman. That's probably what I meant more than because obviously Strom's hard matchup, but. Yeah, be very interesting, Matt. I hope it goes well for you. Hopefully not to overtake me, but
not enough to overtake you, but well enough to just stay in the mix, eh? But I'll tell you what. So ruck contests are definitely a big contributing factor to her scoring really well. So the one game she didn't have, so she had 72, 71, and 41 ruck contests over her first 3 performances. And her lowest one was when she had 41, and that was a score of 77. So that was sort of the outlier. I guess the concern and why you've raised that is that because of the Crows' play style, there aren't as many ball ups. They just dominate. The ball's really free flowing. Just the game. They just dominate the possession. They dominate the ball. So I guess that'll be the big thing. Are there going to be enough hitouts, and is there going to be enough opportunity for Wales to score? But I'm hoping there is, and I'm going a little bit different. I'm going away from the top 2, and I'm trusting her this round.
Don't mind it, mate. Don't mind it. The one flag I would just say, obviously, because Marinoff, we don't need to say anything about Marinoff. Just put her in. You've got extra salary. put it on Marinoff if there's it. Like,
Yes, exactly.
if you had a legend, if the person that's got the legend Marinoff, or even if you've got one of the handful of people that's got a diamond, I would even chuck the diamond in the classic comp just because of how much better she is than everyone else. But the one thing I just would say, Chelsea Randall, I'm still locking her in since in the forward line. But with Eloise Jones going out with a torn Achilles, which really sucks, especially not
Big
only
loss.
for her, but for the Crows as well. It'd be interesting to see what they do, but it would not shock me. And it sort of makes a lot of sense that Chelsea Randall goes back to playing a bit more forward with T. Charlton in, and she becomes almost that role she was playing last year. So still a good option in the forward line, but just I don't really know exactly who the Crows would put there next to Caitlin Gould as the other forward. Or maybe just Ponta play more forward. I don't know. That'll be something I have to see with the Crows, but yeah, just something to flag with Chelsea Randall moving forward.
Definitely one to watch as well, because, you know, that could, you know, impact the rest of her season, how she's looking in fantasy. But to start off, she's just been fantastic. And, you know, as you mentioned, got to put her in your forward line just with the upside alone.
And if she plays forward, Essendon the second best matchup for forwards so far.
Exactly right. What about Hatchard? Let's talk about a player that we both skipped on. Both started her in round 3. Round 4, she's come out. I know we spoke about the strategy before, but, you know, if you look at the numbers, Hatchard's had a better season than the likes of Laura Gardner, you know, the likes of Parker, some fantastic players and some of the best that we have in the competition. But couldn't get the start in either one of our squads. I know that Gardner's a bit of a soft spot for you because you have the All-Star, and of course, I'm a Swan and I wear those red goggles. But are we making a mistake here? Is this an oversight? Talk me through this process.
Well, if it wasn't for me having the All-Star Gardner, Hatchard to be in my team this week. If you had two bronzes, for example, or even both silver, and you had a Gardner and a Hatchard silver, Gardner's got a good matchup, but I'll be putting Hatchard still in, just because of how good she is with like Med Essendon. Great matchup for mids, third easiest matchup so far this season. And the one thing I'd like to say is her performance last year against the Bombers. So Anne Hatchard top scored in this game. She had 27 disposals, 2 goals, 5 marks, 9 tackles. And I'm just going to quickly quote that. That is a 148, 152 points, I believe, on estimation against the Bombers last year. So she goes anything like that again, it could be a massive day. So I'm nervous not having her. The only reason I didn't have her in was just because of, as I said, Ali Anderson played 2 games, get double crack. She had the Dogs and the Eagles. I thought, well, why not? But if it wasn't for that, Hatchard would be in. So, yeah.
So to summarise, you're saying salary cap aside, if you had to pick between Gardner and Hatchard this week, pick Hatchard.
I think so. Yeah, I think that. I think so.
I like it.
The one thing I would note with actually, no, I'll note it with Gardner when we get to the Sydney game.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And I don't think we're too far off. I reckon we've covered most of the good players. We're hoping Too Good can get back into good health soon. And then Maddie Pressparker's just sort of out of that range at the moment for me personally in terms of mids you can start. I think we've wrapped it up, players. Let's get into Game 7. We have the Pies versus the Bulldogs. And I put in the tumbleweed here. This is a full skip.
Let us know about your pod in this game, mate. The tumbleweed. Why have you put the tumbleweed in your team?
Look, the tumbleweed's got a pretty good matchup. You can see some of the numbers there.
Oh, mate,
no players for me. I guess the one player I would have started if I didn't have Wales would have been Frederick. So at least we were thinking very similar. But for me, I've gone a bit of a pod this week. You've gone with Frederick. The double chance. This is her second chance at scoring. Had a pretty tidy first one. So what are we expecting here? You know, the numbers are saying a mid matchup for Ruck. She's obviously going against Edmonds. What are you expecting?
Hopefully more than what she scored in the first game. That'd be nice.
Would be nice.
She was all right. I think she had about 100 points or just shy of 100. Tom, if you've got her score there, but yeah, she was pretty good against West Coast. Obviously, it's a good matchup, that one there. So the hope is that she can go better in this game. This is obviously the first game we're chatting about where you can't put any of these players in your team. Or in your squad, sorry. If you've already got them in your squad, they're there. If you don't, you can't put any of the Collingwood Bulldogs players.
This is a full lockout, exactly, at the moment.
If you did have Ruby Slisher, though, in your defence, I think this could be a big game for her. We didn't obviously have her because she'd struggled the first 3 weeks, but if you still had her in there, with Michaela Can being suspended for this game, Bree Davey being injured, concussed, sorry, obviously going to miss this game, and I think she'll miss next week as well with the 12 days. With a few players out. Britt Benici was another one that was ruled out on Monday night with injury. So I think Slisher plays midfield against the Dogs. Obviously, great matchup. Could be very big. And even if she plays in defence, Bulldogs are the easiest matchup for defenders. So,
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I'm hearing you. So, going to be a funny one. 99 fantasy points as well for Frederick in the first one. So, with your silver, just a little bit of extra on top. My take is I think you're going to be taking the first round score there or the first game score. I'm not sure if she'll outscore that, but we've seen Frederick go, fantastic and explode before. So there's definitely the possibility you could get some more on top, which would just be a bonus for you at that point because you're taking 99 every day of the week.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyone else you want to talk about in this one, or should we?
I think we can move to the next one. I reckon.
Yeah, a couple of the performances that you mentioned, you'd be a little bit disappointed, and of course, because they're locked out now, there's not much you can do. So, let's get into Game 8. This is the Battle of Sydney. This is going to be the Swans versus the Greater Western Sydney Giants, and we have got some similar names here. Bales, we're nearly at the end. Is this the defender you subbed out?
Yes. So I took out Lucy McAvoy for Daisy Darcy, and then put the salary on top of Mim Strom. So that's what I ended up doing. I just like the matchup better for Daisy Darcy over Lucy McAvoy, and again we can see that it's going to be interesting to see how this game goes because I'm looking at the screen. All I'm seeing is besides Sydney Rucks, which obviously is more because of Morfitt being injured and out, it's red. It's red. So this could be it's either going to be a very low scoring fantasy game, or we're going to see some decent scores, and the matchup matrix isn't going to mean too much. So it's going to be interesting with this game. But yes, I've only got the one from this game.
It looks like a nightmare, doesn't it, to start anyone here? But hopefully, as you mentioned, with a smaller sample size for the season, I just think it comes down to a play style thing for both of these teams, and that it's going to be pretty tight. I think in the middle, it's going to be heavily congested, and I think it's going to suit people who tackle hard. And someone like Gardner, who's going to be in the middle, she's going to be at most of the centre bounce attendances and all the contests. I think we could see a big performance from her. I know a lot of people have been waiting for that explosion with Gardner because last year as a forward, she was still, even as a midfielder, if you had her last year, she was part of the best of the best. She was just so good. And this year had a bit of a slower start, but this could be the first game, in my opinion, where she gets back on track with the season she had of last, and that we look at her again as a more of a lock for our mids. Yeah, and I know that's music to your ears, Bales. I know you've been wanting that with the All-Star there.
Yeah, love it.
But still, with the average of 113 leading the game in terms of all players, I've gone a little different though. I've gone a forward with Tarrant, and I think she had a really good performance, 94, and then she's had 56 and 60 from then on. I'm just hoping...
It's not too bad for a forward, right?
Not too bad at all. Exactly right. But, the upside is there. And the thing that gets me is that when she gets it going, she gets a lot of kicks. And that's just exactly what you want as a forward right now. Some of these games have been a bit tougher for the Swans. Of course, we haven't exactly been in all of the games. There have been some convincing losses, unfortunately, throughout the season. But I'm hoping this one could be a little bit tighter. This could be a matchup where we see the Swans be in it a little bit more, and someone like Tarrant can really start getting her hands on the ball and maybe scoring a couple more fantasy points with that. So we've seen her play really well in round 2 with the 94 fantasy points. I'm hoping for a little bit more of that, and let's call it a pod forward option, and maybe my how I can climb up these ranks and close that gap on Bales. We'll see.
Yeah, mate. As long as even if I finish 1 point, but hey, if we both get prize cards, that's all I'm after. So
it'd be fantastic. But I've got a little bit to climb. You've got a little less to climb, and we're definitely in the hunt. That's for sure. Being this early in the season,
it's just like for me. Obviously, I'm trying to get number 1, right? Because if when we come to the end of the season, I want to be having that. Get myself a Marinoff prize card. That'd be nice.
Oh, Marinoff prize card would be the dream, as they would say.
Yeah.
Let's get into my other player, Lucy McAvoy. She's been fantastic this year. I think she's been the beneficiary of a couple of injuries, in particular Malloy going down. That was a massive, massive loss for the Swans so early in the season. So she's come in, and it just seems like she's getting more involved. She gets her hands on the ball. She's been having a fantastic opportunity to score. And I don't think a lot of people would have picked it in the preseason, but she's just been so good. So she's earned her starting role for me. It's been 2 weeks now, and she hasn't had a single game where she's dropped below double-digit kicks, and that's exactly what you're looking for. She even had 2 kick-ins last game, so she's just being placed all around the ground, but she's been finding ways to contribute in terms of fantasy score in each one. So her lowest score of the year was last week, and it was 79 fantasy points. So if that's looking like a sort of a floor performance, I'm really optimistic for her season, and that's why she's earned a spot again in my starting 22 for my squad. Bales, let's get into the last one, West Coast versus the Lions. Talk me through. Hodder, your point of difference player, your forward. Of course, she's already had a matchup here, and this is another lock game. So if you've got these players, you would have already started them, and they're going to be locked into your squad. So Hodder, you're pretty happy with the first one. What are you expecting? Could she go that step higher in this one?
Well, I hope so. I'm hoping that they do because we know, well, you see West Coast there, great matchup for mids, third easiest matchup. And if Hodder gets that midfield time like she did in the last quarter last night, if they're still managing some players with the 2 games. But I feel like this is the game where Brisbane aren't going to change anything. Like last night, we saw a few people, like we saw Anderson, like rest forward, Conway played under 80% game time. We saw a few little things happen there. This would be the game, I think, with West Coast starting well, that Brisbane can't afford to take lightly because obviously being over in the West, they need to win. Losing that in that first game, they want to lock in that top sort of 4, top 2 spot. Brisbane, they're going to need to win this game. So I think this is a game where we're going to see pretty much the same from both teams, I think. So I think Charlie Thomas might have a better game this week. I think Brisbane are going to get a fair few chances there, especially if they kick a lot of points. Charlie Thomas, we know, takes all the kick-ins, so that's obviously great.
We love that.
We get the +4, which is nice. Obviously, Ali Anderson will probably get the backer tag. Maybe that goes to Conway after the performance she put in, which would be fantastic.
Goodness, she was so good.
Which we'd love if Conway got tagged, because we obviously both don't have her. So, yeah, that'd be nice. But it's going to be very interesting, this game, because this will be obviously one of the 2 games where the teams already played this week and they'll be playing again. So it'll be very interesting to see what does happen. I did just read quickly through the teams, though, that did drop from this week. So there's not too much drama in terms of sort of anyone sort of name sort of out or anything like that. But so just a couple of players to note. Jack DePie has been dropped, which is interesting, being dropped by Gold Coast. So she's out. So if anyone did have her in the forward line, she's not going to be there. Your favourite, Kirsty Stratton, is back for the Hawks, mate. So that's another forward option that you can maybe consider. Maybe not this week, maybe you watch a week, but she's back. Ash McCarthy's back for Freo as well, which is good for Freo. And if anyone was looking at playing her this week, so she is in there. Obviously, we know Eloise Jones was already out for the Crows, unfortunate there as well. But then from the 2 teams that played already, Georgia Stathis, if you did have her in your defence, she's been named to play there.
Nice.
Obviously, Bree Davies out as well, unfortunately, obviously with concussion. Then Izzy Huntington's back for the Giants. That's probably the one, if anyone had her in the forward line, could be someone that a bit of a unique that you play there. Then for the final game, the only one that few people might have had is Jess Hoskins actually out injured, which I don't know what the injury is, but if anyone had her in defence, because she has had an okay start to the year, she won't be there for the second game. So if you had her, you get the good score from the first game, which was great anyway, but she won't be playing the second game.
Yeah, I was going to say 101 fantasy points in the first one. Look, I know it's a bit disappointing because you could have had the second dip, but if the first dip's that good, I guess you're pretty happy either way, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly right. Yeah, but Charlie Thomas, Anderson, and you've got Hodder in this one. Should be a really, really good game. It's going to be a nice one to wrap up the round. I'm sure there's going to be some people who have a lot of the fantasy points in this one. I'm really interested to find out how many players did coaches think about starting in their squads from these double ones. I know we spoke about it earlier, but were we stacking? Were we trying to get as many as we could over the past, the four teams that did play? Or I know Bales, we sort of spoke about it. I know we looked at matchups. So we were trying to look at the matchups and trying to just get the best fantasy scorer irrespective of the double dip.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm interested to see if people thought and coaches thought that maybe you had to get as many players as you could in these ones. And like someone like Hosking started in a lot of squads this week and maybe we missed out.
Yeah, exactly. But then obviously if people put in a Bree Davey thinking no Benici, no Collingwood midfield, Eagles and Bulldogs as their 2 matchups, thinking there's a good chance she goes big in one of those two, like I thought she would, and I put her in challenger, and she's out. So it's that balancing act I think we've learned this week is that you take the chance of playing double dip, but there's no guarantee they're going to play 2 games. What if something happens in the first game? Then you've got an injured player from that. You just don't know. And like we could see, again, I mentioned with the North girls before, but we could see even if they don't rest this week, maybe both games next week, just going to play a quarter forward in each game and play 6 in the midfield, 1 each, 2 games, so 2 quarters combined in the full time. So that's just something to note moving forward.
Absolutely, mate. I think we've wrapped this up pretty well. Bales, here is your squads. Weekly 2. Of course, we saw that. Seasonal 7.
Yeah, I've still never finished first for a week. I'd love to tick that off, but even if it's not in the women's Aussie rules season, if it comes to the men's footy next year or the rugby, anything like that, even the BBL coming up at some point, that'd be nice. Even if it's something like that, it'd be good to finish first for weekly or whatever. So, but yeah, going along nicely, mate. Hopefully we can continue.
Yep, absolutely. Here is my squad as well. Weekly 3, season 16. So still, it's very tight though, that race between us. It's a couple.
The only differences that we've got is that you've got Bronze McAvoy.
Aaron,
I've got Newman.
Law.
So it's just the same bronzes in defence, just a difference. I've got the gold Marinoff, and you've got the silver
All-Star Gardner.
You've got then silver Tarrant. I've got the silver Hodder. You got Wardlaw. I got Shearlaw, and then I've got the gold Strom, and you've got the bronze. So
you've got a bronze Anderson as well, I think, and then I've got the silver.
Yes, yep, and that's the extra salary difference. So yeah, I don't mind it though. Like it.
For sure, mate. Do you know what it's time for? It is time for some packs. Now, this is what we love about GameDay Squad. You can go to the store here, and we have some All-Star packs. So what it is you get a chance at getting an All-Star card within these packs. So these are the best of the best fantasy performers from 2023. So there's still All-Stars to be pulled, and there's still cards in packs.
And with packs as well, if you guys head over to, if you guys haven't signed up to GameDay Squad yet and you're a new user, make sure you go over and sign up there, because we got the basketball starting tonight, the Aussie basketball. So make sure you sign up and use the code BALESDT as well, and you get a free 3-player rare pack. So that's pretty good. Yeah, you normally have to pay money for that. So, but all you got to do is new user, just sign up, use the code BALESDT. And you get free 3-player rare pack. So yeah, make sure you guys get around that, because with the basketball starting tonight, like it's valued at $7. You get essentially $7 free. Why not? Use it. Sign up.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, why not? And if you don't need to know how to spell it, it's underneath Bales right now. You can see it there. He's already spelled it out for you. Use the code, sign up to GameDay Squad, and get ready for tip-off tonight. Bales, I always ask you, would you like to go first or second this week?
Well, because we've been doing this since the start, we sort of alternate. I went first last week, so you can go first this week, mate.
All righty. Sounds like a plan. Oh.
You got a platinum though.
I know, but I got a little bit greedy. I think I was sort of hoping for a diamond. Here we go. Okay. Nothing across. Oh! No way! No way! No, this is my first All-Star card I've ever got. No way! No way!
See,
no way!
I'm happy. I'm happy for you, but now I'm devastated.
I'm so sorry.
Wait, hey, all I can say is, if it's a Marinoff, we have to do the switch for Marinoff and Gardner. Simple as that.
Have to. Sheer and Silver. This is a pack.
And Dana Finn's solid as well.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I've never pulled an All-Star. Here we go. The wrong McDonald, unfortunately.
Okay, any guesses? So let's see if you can get.
Please be enough. Please be enough. Please be enough. Please be enough. Please be enough.
What is that? Just because you?
Oh, I take it. You take it. You take it.
That's a good one, Jazz Garner.
Oh my goodness gracious! My heart is flying out of my chest. And what a horrible... I was just talking about potentially resting her. Am I now caught in the trap? All-Star Garner, I think, comes straight into the squad.
Oh, mate.
Oh, my goodness gracious. I'm sorry, Bales. I don't want to keep rubbing it in.
I'm happy for you, but then I'm also devastated, because I should have just been greedy and
I
just
need to get this for the Discord. Oh, goodness. Well, alrighty. We're done. We're done. You know what, though? There's
I'm not.
no reason.
This
There's no
this pack.
reason there
I
can't be
can
something
tell
good.
you. I can tell you right now. I'm going to predict it now. This pack
Oh, I can't believe it.
no, this pack is going to be trash. There is going to be 9. There is going to be 9
say
silver.
that.
There's going to be 9 silvers in it, and not one of them is going to be relevant. So, let's go. Let's rip the band-aid off. But it's not.
You want
it's
to
not.
rip it off? Come on, Bales. Let's be up to. Oh, well,
Okay, we got platinum. That was the same
Well,
animation you got. So
it's the same animation, Bales. Come on. What's the bet that I get my first All-Star ever and you'll do one up me and getting off?
No.
Let's go over here.
Yeah.
Okay. I tried to talk it into existence for you. I'm sorry.
There you go.
Get rid of.
There's 3. Not one of these so far has been relevant.
All right, this is big. We need something big here to save this pack.
Told you. What did I say? What did I say? Trash.
Yeah. I'm sorry,
unfortunately.
Well, should we indulge?
Bloody hell. Hold on. My headphones have just my mic, like headphones have cut out. So hang on, I've got to do my speaker as.
You're right, mate. We're about to wrap up anyway.
There we go.
Awesome. Yeah, as said, we're about to wrap up. Bales, the next time you can catch us will be next Thursday. So we're going to continue to do Thursday shows. So be mindful that on the Tuesday and the Wednesday, there are going to be games. So what we're going to do is like this week, we're going to have a look at some of the better performing players from those games. And then we're going to go game by game after. So from Thursday all the way through to Sunday and give you our tips and tricks to set the winning squad. Bales, that might be just what I needed to get back in this race. You have been dominant to start this season, but here we are. I'm still shaking a little bit, to be honest. I've never got an All-Star. Any final comments? Maybe you can wrap this one up, mate. I can barely talk.
Oh, mate, I'm gutted. I should have just gone. You know what? I'm going to be selfish. I'm happy for you though. Like, it's funny. It's conflicting feelings. It's like, I'm happy for you. Been a good mate of mine. You pack a Ghana. Like, normally in any case, I'd be like, everything would be positive. But the fact that I could have had it, it's just.
I know. If you were like, you know what? Let's switch it up. I'll go first this week. Oh gosh.
Oh well, you got the All-Star though. So hey, mate, if you wanted to do Ghana for Gardner, then we might be able to work something out. But we'll see how we go.
Alrighty, I appreciate the gracious offer. You never know, maybe we'll take it up at some point. But thanks everyone for tuning in. Of course, Women's Aussie Rules round has already started, but the best of luck for the weekend. We've got weekly rewards that we're giving out, so hopefully you can get into that leaderboard and cash out on some really, really good prizes. Bales, thank you for your time tonight, and we'll catch all your legends